Hi everyone, this is Jae-ho Hwang, the director of Dave the Diver.
Hi, I'm Nolan, a game designer for Dave the Diver.
So as you may have seen in our recent trailer, the full version release date was finally announced. When was it, Nolan?
That would be June 28th.
Yeah, it's right around the corner, and the dev team is working really hard to make it on time, but even more importantly, to make sure it is the best quality possible.
Right, so yeah, right now it's goes without speaking that it's a somewhat tough schedule, but I know that the team is really quite motivated and the build is getting better and better every day. So hopefully everyone really loves it when it's released.
By the way, I want to talk a little bit about our launch trailer. It not only shows a sneak peek of some of our contents, but it has a very, very unique and awesome voiceover in it.
Yes, it does. So that narration was done by Robert Clotworthy, whom you may have heard in various things. If you played StarCraft, he should be quite familiar to you, as he's otherwise known as Jim Raynor in StarCraft 2. And I mean, he's actually been in all kinds of stuff, but I personally knew him from History Channel's Ancient Aliens. So we were really thrilled to have the Ancient Aliens guy as a voice in our trailer. And it was a lot of fun to work with such a professional and such a cool guy.
I would also like to personally thank Mr. Clotworthy. You really made our launch trailer something special. Thank you.
I was actually going to try to imitate his voice, but
Jim later.
But I can't. That's why he's the professional and I'm not. So.
Oh, okay. So we are here today to introduce and give you an explanation of the new contents that will be featured in the full version.
And actually, yeah, it's quite a bit. Some editions are bigger than others, but a pretty substantial amount of content in the new version was based on our feedback from early access.
Before we jump in, I want to once again thank the community for being so active and providing so much important feedback. We could improve a lot of systems and found tons of bugs thanks to the community. We constantly check Discord, Steam, and you may have noticed me in Discord every day to hear what you guys think of, and I try to answer as much as I can.
Yeah, I noticed your Discord literally all the time, so I'm wondering if you're ever sleeping.
Well, it's fun for me to see what people think about game and I give suggestions on how to make it better. I even sacrifice my Zelda time to do this.
That's dedication.
Yeah, that's big dedication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we took particular notice when we got consistent feedback urging us to go in a certain direction or to add certain quality of life functions. If it weren't for early access and for the engagement we have with the community, we wouldn't have been able to do all that. So let's get into the new stuff.
The early access version covered the first 3 chapters of the game. The gameplay wise, we estimate that what was in early access compared to the full version is about a bit over half. So needless to say, there will be a lot more stuff to do even if you have already played through the early access.
Right, so while the average playtime in early access was about 12 to 14 hours or so, the full version should take at least 25 hours. Do keep in mind this is an estimate for players who go straight through the story and don't just stop and fish and kind of mess around for fun. Everyone likes to play the game in their own way, and we noticed even some players out there had put in like dozens of hours into the early access version, just like fishing and collecting stuff and doing all kinds of side stuff. So the amount of playtime will vary pretty wildly just depending on how you want to play the game.
Let's start with talking a bit about what we added as far as new areas in the game. So if you play the early access version, I think that it's fair to say that there's going to be a much larger variety of environment that you will see now in the full version. Of course, there will be new biomes that include new fish and new materials. So let me show you a sneak peek of our new areas right there. Looks cool, right? Yeah.
So in our full version, we finally get to wrap up the story. A lot of people really liked our quirky characters, so their adventures will continue, and you will get to see the reasons for what the earthquakes was, and this means new cutscenes that were not in early access. A lot of them, actually. But we're not going to talk too much about the story here.
Spoilers.
Right.
I think we shouldn't forget about the bosses, right? Here's a glimpse at some boss fight in the full version. Of course, there are even more cool ones, so check them out for yourself soon. I'm not going to introduce too much about the story and new areas today to save some excitement for later on. So let's get into some quality of life and new functions that we have added. First, we have new function called the fish tracker. A lot of users mentioned that they wanted to be able to view their fish info and sushi bar info while they were in the water. So we added the fish tracker function where you can check how many fish you have at Sushi Bar and Fish Farm and their ranks and levels.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we realized through feedback that it was getting kind of frustrating for some people to have to guess how much stock of fish they had back at the sushi restaurant or fish farm. So now it should be a lot easier to like mid-dive adjust your diving plans based on the info in Fish Tracker. So in the early access version, when you killed big creatures like sharks, you had to carve the meat in the water and you could only get a few slices of them with a 2-star rank. Now when you hunt large sea creatures, you can call in a drone and then take the whole thing back up to the surface, which will guarantee the highest ranking. And you can get more meat as well.
Some player may have noticed the drone icon in the early access version, wondering what it is, and now you can actually use it.
Great. So next we have weapons. Weapons are always fun. In the new full version, we have a ton of new weapons, some cool ones and some weird ones, of course, because why not? We added both guns and some new melee weapons. For guns, we have an ice gun and a flame gun, for example.
For melee, some examples are a shovel, where you can slam down on top of the fish, and I guess everyone's familiar with this type of attack.
I don't know, that shovel idea sounds pretty novel, pretty new. You invented it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I invented it.
Yeah, it's great.
I did.
Never heard of it in another game.
Yeah, I know. And also we had a baseball bat, and now we have baseball as well.
Yeah, and just like everything else in our game, this is all based on strict realism, of course, because did you know you can throw baseballs underwater? There's something about the aerodynamics of the baseball, they just cut right through the water. It totally works. You should try it.
Yeah, I don't trust you, so
Okay.
I'm gonna go back and Google it.
Yeah, you do that.
I almost forgot to mention that when you pick up the new weapon, and your previous weapon will be dropped, not disappear, which was how it worked in the early access. So if you don't like your new one, and you can go back and pick up the old one.
Right. So I actually think this is one of the best new quality of life features. It's a small thing, but it's definitely a big help.
I agree.
Yeah.
Next we have Fishmon. These are special mutated fish that are a bit harder to find, and Dave captured them when he gets special requests. They each have special weak point that makes them unique, like one only being capturable with a net, and one only being able to cap damage only with an ice gun, for example.
Right. So minigames, we already have a few minigames in early access, but we added a bunch more for the full version. Some of them show behind the scenes background of our unique characters, and some are just for fun.
Sea People Village shop. The shops in the Sea People Village hadn't been open in the early access version, but now they are all open. But please note that all the shops open based on each player's progress, so they may unlock at different times, mission, depending on where you are in the story.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But we do have some more to share, so let me quickly go through these. The golden item cap will be removed, which I'm sure a lot of people appreciate. And of course, we did a lot of balancing. We worked hard on adjusting the balancing of the game for the best experience. This may end up nerfing or buffing existing items a bit, but I think in the end it will improve the overall experience. And last, we want to let you know that we will be adding French and Portuguese. As with all translations, it's very hard to get a translation perfect, and even harder when there are no native speakers of the language on the team, which is our case. But as always, we totally welcome any corrections for mistranslations or awkward translations that you may have noticed while playing the game. We already had a lot of help from the community for languages like German and Spanish, and it made a big difference.
Okay, this will most likely be our last stream before our game launches. We are really excited and of course super nervous.
Yep.
Yeah, to launch the full version of the game. And we really hope that people enjoy the full release. Even though we will consider this a completed version, we promise to keep making improvement and polish it to the game even after launch, and anything that will help you to enjoy the world of Dave the Diver.
And back to the Dave the Diver community out there. We never expected to get such a positive response and so much input from so many people. We want to thank everyone once again for being there with us on this journey. We tried our best to make the best game as many people could enjoy as possible, and we will continue to try to make sure you have a great experience. But in the meantime, we hope you're looking forward to the full release as much as we are, and we hope this game can bring some fun into your life, which is of course what games are for.
Thanks again, and I can't wait to see you guys on June 28th. Yeah. And last time, I made you say goodbye in Spanish and German.
Yeah.
And this time we translate into French and Portuguese, so I think you should say it for our fans out there.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that. So I think see you soon. In French is abiento, and in Portuguese it's até logo, I think.
Aviento and
Até logo.
Até logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Abiento.